So these are surahs that inshallah all of us we all know or we're all familiar with, and we hear very frequently in Juz Amma, they're short. And so this surah is Takathur. And we have to understand that many of the surahs, the short surahs, these are Meccan surahs. And the Meccan surahs are surahs that are revealed before the Hijrah. And usually they do not emphasize the details, the furu' of the Sharia. They talk about the usul, belief in Allah, resurrection, general akhlaq, etc. So it's useful for us to continue to remind ourselves of these things. So it says Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Remind ourselves, what does that mean, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim? It means through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do all things happen, including my recital of these verses. He who is Allah, Allah is, according to many scholars, is derived from the word, from various words. It is al-Ilah, the God, meaning the one we have, the one about whom we are all walhan, we are all besought with love, we are besides ourselves with love. So when we talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we don't talk about love of Allah, we're talking about worship of Allah. So there's love and then adoration and then love and then worship, right? You say, mashallah, this guy doesn't love his wife, he worships his wife. Like it's way beyond that, right? So that's our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You see somebody is walhan, right? This person is beyond themselves. Similarly, you say at-ta'alluh is al-ihtiyaj, is to need something. So we all need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Similarly, aliha, one of the meanings of aliha is tahayyara, he became confused. So this is this being that we all love. We can't understand him and we all need him, right? So this is al-ilah, in the name of al-ilah, the one who we all love, the one who we all need, and the one we all can't fathom him, we can't explain him. Everything has a cause apart from Allah. Everything can be explained apart from Allah. Who is Ar-Rahman, who is the one who is full of mercy. You say somebody is a ghadib, that means that they're upset or they are angry, right? You say Rabban, this person's about to explode, right? You say somebody who is atish, they are thirsty. You say atshan, they are overcome with thirst. They can't function, right? So Rahman is like somebody who is, it's quite a good, merciful is an okay translation, but it means the word full is useful because it has a sense of being full. Al-mumtali' rahma, right? The one who is full. So it's almost as if, imagine if you had something that was full of water and whenever you touched it, you got wet, even if you're not opening it, right? So it's like something like that, something that was full of anger. Even if you didn't annoy it, it was difficult to be around. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is full of rahmah. Every single interaction with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is rahmah, right? So even for example, look at Fir'aun. He's going to go to hellfire forever and ever and ever. He is also marhum because he was chosen from the whole alam al-imkan. He was chosen from the whole world of potentials to be tested. There are infinite potential things that could have existed. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed Fir'aun rahmah and said, I'm choosing you out of like an infinite amount of other things that could have existed to be tested. So every single thing around us, yes, it's makhluk, but it's also marhum. Every single thing around us. Right? Some of the ulama, they say the Prophet ﷺ described himself as Nabi al-Malhama or Malahim, the prophet of bloody battles. So they said, well, how can he be the Nabi al-Malahim, the prophet of bloody battles, and Nabi al-Rahma, and the prophet of mercy? They say, how? Because it's actually a rahmah for the kuffar to die at the hands of the Muslims. So you're a kafir fighting the Prophet ﷺ, when you suffered, when you were killed by the kuffar in battle, it reduces your hellfire. So you would wish you could have died at the hands of the Muslims. So every single thing connected to the Prophet ﷺ is rahmah. Every single thing connected to it, right? So it's a key thing to understand rahmah. So this is how and so when people don't have rahmah, right? Yesterday, subhanAllah, we were talking, where's brother I am? Right. Oh, there he is. Right, talking about, subhanAllah, I often wear Afghani clothes, right? And I'm one of these people who are pretty dumb. Like my dad always said, he's like one of these people who don't get things after a long time, right? So I wear Afghan clothes now and then. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of nice, And after his discussion, like I've heard about things in Afghanistan and the difficulties and these issues. You talk about people, and it's like after that, I was like, I don't even want to wear Afghan clothes anymore. I don't even want to do it. right? Because you just see there's so little rahmah. This basic thing, just be nice, right? If people were just nice, then everything would be easy. Nobody would say this, nobody would say that. Just be nice. But so many times, subhanAllah, we recite Quran, we pray Qiyam al-Layl, we go to the masjid, we go on Umrah, we go on Hajj, we. But there's no rahmah. Basic thing, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Have you heard that, brother? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim? No, never heard of it. Subhanallah. You don't know Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim? No. Basic thing, right? We're talking to the young guns about getting married. Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, he gave advice to somebody once. He said, so Sheikh, give me some advice. He said, in marriage advice, he said, yeah, be nice. It's like, okay, that's kind of fairly obvious. Like, no, it's not. Be nice. Just have rahmah. It's actually quite a big thing. It's a huge thing, right? So just being nice. This whole thing is that beginning, middle, and end, be nice. Be nice. Show care and concern, right? So you're dealing with Allah, who is caring, concerning towards you. Ar-Rahimuna yarhamuhum ar-Rahman. Irhamu man fil ardi yarhamkum man fis sama. Right? This is the hadith that when you study hadith, they narrate to you first. It's not the most sahih hadith. It's not the most this, but it's the key hadith they take. The Ar-Rahman, right? He shows mercy to people who are nice. Be nice to people upon earth, and he upon high will be nice to you. Simple concept. Be nice, right? Be nice, right? And so it's such an easy thing to talk about, such a hard thing to do, right? I remember, subhanAllah, again, the fool that I am. My first car, I used to rev it a lot. Okay, my dad was like, Freed, you don't have no experience. You've never taken apart an engine. I said, yeah, why would I take apart an engine? What a waste of time. He said, I have taken apart an engine bit by bit and put it together again. You have the kind of pressure you're putting when you rev an engine, right? That you're putting on the head gasket. There's a lot of pressure. What happened to the car? The head gasket blew, right? My Prius, head gasket blew. Have mercy on the car, right? Imam Sha'rani, he once put a cup down like this, and the cup went, ow. He said, the cup went ow? The cup went ow? So he said, after that, I never closed any door. Close the door gently. Open the door gently. Put the cup down gently. Every single thing, rahmah. Using the pen, rahmah, right? So this is a key concept. It's so easy, but we forget, right? We forget every single thing, right? What is the problem with the ulama? No rahmah. That's the problem. Prove to me that you have rahmah and I'll listen. If you don't show me you have rahmah, I'm not listening. Simple as that. That's the problem. In Jordan, that's an issue. In Afghanistan, that's an issue. Everywhere's an issue. Like, where is the rahmah of the ulama? The people who represent the religion have no rahmah. They are just not nice people. I prefer to be gay. I prefer to be atheist. I prefer to do anything else. Go to a bar, at least they're nice, right? You're drunk and they pick you up, put you in a taxi and drop you home at least, right? Why is it that the people who have deen have no rahmah? Because we say words, but we don't mean them. We recite Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We don't mean it. May Allah forgive us all. So Ar-Rahman is al-Mumtali' rahmatan, right? He who is full of mercy, metaphorically, even in spite of himself, he shows you mercy. So in spite of himself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows mercy to the kuffar, to the this, to the that, right? And as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, every single nice thing that we have in life, right? Right now, Brother Mansour he can lean against the wall, and it's a mercy. Right now, Brother Muhammad Amin, he became Muslim, and he has ukhuwah, has a brotherhood here. This is rahmah, all right? Right now, we're all pretending that we like Muhammad Shoman, even though, we're nice to him, right? We just at least put on airs to make him feel good about himself. That's our rahmah, right? There's all sorts of things that we do out of rahmah, right? Every single thing you can think about in life, I have an itch and I can scratch it. Alhamdulillah, right? I have a headache and there's medicine, there's this, all these things, every single thing in life, this is a rahmah. This is 1% of Allah's rahmah. 1% of Allah's rahmah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sharing, holding back 99% of his rahmah to show it to us on Judgment Day. Right? So this is Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And so many people, again, they get lost on this. Yeah, when I used to answer questions online, 1/3 of all questions were OCD questions about Iman and wudu. 1/3. Someone asks a question, divorce, someone asks a question, zakat, someone asks a question. I'm doubting my Iman. Why? Because I stepped into the masjid with the wrong foot. And the person's like, maybe Allah hates me. Maybe I'm a kafir, right? Oh, I touched the mushaf with my left hand. I'm a kafir. Oh, I said no to my dad. I'm a kafir. This is a problem. So what's the issue? They don't know that Allah's rahmah. They think that Allah is this horrible thing out there that's trying to catch them on every single thing. If I go to, they spend 2 hours going to the bathroom, 3 hours making wudu. It's very difficult. When they say Allahu Akbar, is it Allahu Ak, 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 and they're like, is it right? Is it wrong? Is it right? Is it wrong? It's like, subhanallah. Like, it's not that difficult. Everything is so hard because they don't know. You're dealing with Ar-Rahman. It's okay. Don't worry. Right? So this is a key thing. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So Ar-Rahim, right? This is for rusukh. So you say, Ana rahimuka. I am going to be nice to you. Right? I am going to be nice to you. So fa'il is used like a verb. Right? They use, if you said rahim, that means like it's almost like close to a verb. When you say fa'il, it's like it's for rusukh, right? Ana jalisuka, right? That means I sit next to you. Ana jalisuka, I'm your buddy. There's difference, right? So Rahim has the rusukh, has this permanence, like this is what he is, right? As opposed to that's what he's doing, right? It's not the same. So this is who he is as opposed to what he's doing. Who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He is the Rahim. What does he do? He shows rahmah to us, but it's not the same. Right, so this is in the name of Allah. So this is a key thing. In the name of Allah, through Allah, with Allah, by Allah, with Allah's help, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, be it start the car, be it recite Quran, be it whatever, etc. So then it says, al-Hakumut Takathur. So it says, here the translates competition for more gains, right? Having kathra, having more, has diverts you, puts it into present tense. In reality, it's the past tense. Why does Allah use the past tense? Right? It's not because it happened in the past, it's for tahaqquq, right? So he's saying this thing is realized. It's like a done and dusted thing. It has become done and dusted that you are permanently distracted and diverted from what's going on in real life. By takathur, I have to have more, keeping up with the Joneses, right? That's what keeps America going, right? If we stop buying, then it wouldn't work. Right? Part and parcel, Brother Muhammad Sadiq is here, but part and parcel of the boom and bust in the 1920s was that people bought things and then they stopped buying things. So they bought a fridge and then didn't need to buy another fridge. So now we have a new culture, the consumer culture. You're not going to buy a fridge today. You're going to buy a fridge today and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Keep buying a new fridge. Keep buying a new car, right? In the past, keep a car for 50 years. No, why would you keep a car for 50 years? Right? You have to have a newer car. Everything has to be, throw things away and get new things, disposable, right? So this is this mentality. I have to have more. I have to have more. I have to have more. And again, it's not just in the dunya that we see. It's not in cars and clothes, etc. It's in anything, right? In anything, right? Sufyan al-Thawri, he says, I don't know anybody who has more hasad and more hatred towards each other than the ulama. Oh, he's memorized this book. I'll memorize the next book. Oh, he knew that answer. I know this answer. So it could be in anything. It could be in, he led two rak'ahs, I want to lead 4. Oh, he did this surah, I want to do this surah. So you can compete in the deen. But should we could be competing like that? No. Whatever khair you see in somebody else, alhamdulillah, you're very happy to see the khair in other people. So this mentality of, I've got to beat you in whatever it is, in the dunya or the akhirah or anything, any kind of thing you're talking about, this is wrong. You should see, you're happy to see good in other people. You see, this is a sign of Allah's rahmah. This is a sign of Allah's rahmah. I'm just very happy looking at Allah's rahmah. Very happy, right? Not a problem. MashaAllah, this man, he has kids and his kids are married and successful. I have no kids. My kids are all, or they're all dead or they're all failing. It's okay. I'm happy to see good in other people as opposed to the opposite is this competition, right? So al-Hakumut Takathur, you have been distracted by trying to get more and more things, right? Hatta zurtumul maqabir, until you visit the graves. So visiting the grave is a very important thing, right? And for myself, having, for example, brother Muhammad Anwar here is a sign, right? For me, like, was it last night he spoke? I think last night he's talking about being sick. It's like he knows his faqa, he knows his difficulty, he knows how much he needs Allah. Everyone else is just talking. People like me, like talk. But like, have you gone to when you go to hospital and you're like, you actually could die right now. right? You could die right now. Like when you taste death and you come back. My dad did that. My dad tasted death and came back. He had another 10 years, right? So when he died, I was like, yeah, he died 10 years ago. It's not a big deal, right? Like, because he got to this point, like, he's literally going to die. And that's it. And it's like you could hear it in the voice. And he's like, actually, I'm going, I'm going, I'm going. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him another 10 years, right? So this thing is like when you actually have the ittirar, like you really need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's very important. So you go to the grave. And this is what's wrong with our society, right? In societies, we put our old people somewhere else, not important. Why would you come to the masjid? It's boring. I'm going to go hang out with other young people like myself, and you never see people die. You never see people get old. Whereas if you live life with people, you're going to say, oh, my son died. Oh, my brother died. Oh, this died. So when you have a normal social life with normal people, that's not the modern social life, you see death on a regular basis, and it's a huge reminder, and it's a huge benefit for you. It benefits us, right? When you see who's there, like I know, for example, people in Jordan, I'm like, oh, these people that I knew, right? Not like the shuyukh, but just people you knew, and they're like, oh, he died. Oh, and he died. Oh, he died, and he died. It died. So, oh, subhanAllah, people die, right? We're all walking through this, through this area, right? So, حتى زرتم المقابر, until you go to the graves, right? And interesting, the word maqabir, in Spanish, you have about 5,000 words from Arabic, right? In English, we have about 500 words we use. And so this word is in English, macabre. That's a macabre film, Macabre. That's from the word, it came from Arabic to French to English, right? So the word macabre, right? So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Kalla. Kalla is used only in Meccan surahs. It's used, again, you're talking to people who are psychopaths. They worship idols. They believe it's okay to abuse people, and that's part of how it functions. Like abusing other people is good because it's part of your strength, right? We were talking yesterday in Afghan culture that not forgiving is good. It's part of your own dignity, right? Which is stupid, right? So they insulted me, I'm never going to forgive them, and that's it, right? That's part of your like being a man, right? And if you forgave them, it's not good, right? So that's part of the Jahiliyyah. Also said that when you forgive, you become stronger, you become more mighty, right? But in the Jahiliyyah, you say, no, why would you forgive? That's wrong, right? As Suhayr ibn Abi Sulma, he said, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَظْلِمِ النَّاسَ يُظْلَمِ. He said, whoever doesn't wrong other people will be wronged. This is how we function. This is how we work things. If you don't wrong other people, they'll wrong you. It's a dog-eat-dog world, so you have to have bigger teeth. This is the Jahiliyyah, right? And so this is how they value things. They worship idols. They do crazy things, insane things that don't make any sense. Do disgusting things. So you would go to the Kaaba and there's just piles of blood there, right? Really disgusting kind of blood, right? And it's like, that's what they thought, okay, that's how you worship Allah, right? Very strange kind of thing. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word kalla. Kalla means, oh my God, you're an idiot. That's what it means. Like, imagine if somebody said that to me, like they said, Fareed. I'm like, yes, they Fareed. Fareed, just shut up and listen. That's kalla. It's very strong, right? Very, very strong, kalla, right? It's a very, very strong word. So Allah uses the word kalla, right? Sawfa ta'lamun, right? He says, one day you're going to get it. So it's like, okay, And then this is the voice of your parent. You know, when they tell you something, you don't get it. So Allah's like, kalla, thumma kalla, on top of that. So it doesn't mean then. Thumma here doesn't mean then. It's not for at-tarahi al-zamani. It doesn't mean this happened and then this happened. It's for at-tarahi al-rutbi. It means this happened. It means way above whatever came to your mind before of like how you should change your mind. I'm talking about on another level, right? You're talking about on another level, right? Moreover, on a higher level, every single thing you're thinking about it, delete it from your head, start again because you're total head case. Everything about you is wrong. You need to start again, right? It's very, very strong words, right? You will come to know. Indeed, if you were to know your fate with certainty, you would act differently. But you will surely see hellfire, right? And this is the case for every single person, right? وَإِن مِّنكُمْ إِلَّا وَارِدُهَا كَانَ عَلَى رَبِّكَ حَتْمًا مَقْضِيًّا. Every single person is going to come to hellfire. You're going to stand in front of hellfire, right? So who is it? Abdullah ibn Rawaha, he starts crying. And his wife starts crying. So he asks her, why are you crying? She says, I'm crying because you're crying. She says, I'm crying because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said وَإِن مِّنكُمْ إِلَّا وَارِدُهَا. Every single person is going to come to hell. Right? كَانَ عَلَى رَبِّكَ حَتْمًا مَقْضِيًّا. That's final. Allah's made it. Right? Farsi say hatman, right? It's all Arabic. Hatman, right? Hatman. Right? Definitely, it's definitely going to happen. Right? ثُمَّ نُنَجِّي الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا وَنَذَرُ الظَّالِمِينَ فِيهَا جُثِيًّا. Right? Then we will save the people who had taqwa. Did you have taqwa? No. Right? The masjid is full of people who make dua, but they don't want to change. All they do is want to pay Allah off. They say, Sheikh, how much do I have to pay? That's what they say. How much do I have to pay? They don't want to change. When you tell them, okay, you have to do qada, they don't do it. They just want to pay Allah off. I went on Umrah, big deal. Khalas, I went on Umrah, Allah forgave my sins. No, you have to change. Don't go to Umrah. Just change. I don't want to. So they don't take the means. Nobody wants to change. Everyone's very happy. This is how I function. On Eid, the same makeup is going to be there. Same thing. Everything's going to be the same. Right? Halal food doesn't matter. Not a big deal. The haram is still there. Everything, the same thing. Nobody wants to change. So he says, and then we'll save the people who had taqwa. وَنَذَرَ الظَّالِمِينَ فِيهَا جُثِيًّا. Right? And we will, all the people who did wrong, will leave them there crawling on their knees in hellfire. So Abdullah ibn Rawaha is like, yeah, I don't know. Which group am I in? Right? This is Abdullah ibn Rawaha, who died as Shaheed, Sahabi. Right? His grave is in Yemen, in Jordan. You can see him next to Ja'far al-Sadiq. Right? Sayyidina Ja'far, sorry, not Ja'far al-Sadiq. Next to Sayyidina Ja'far. He's there in Mu'tah. And so this is the mentality. You're going to see hellfire. Again, you will surely see hellfire with the eye of yaqeen. So how do we function in life? We function in life by levels of self-denial, right? We function in a way by denying things, right? Assuming, for example, I'm not going to die, assuming that things are okay even though they're not, right? Like the American world, it only functions by lying to yourself, right? Everybody else is like, what are you talking about? Right? And I mentioned this before, that there is something psychotic about the Anglophone world, because we say so many lies on a regular basis that it's like we're actually like psychotic. When you speak to anybody who doesn't speak English, they're way more sane than we are. Go to Russia and everyone's like, well, this is the situation, right? This is what's happening. A bunch of people are killing a bunch of people. It's obvious, right? Last November, I was going to Jordan for my dad's funeral, and I just bumped into this Spanish guy, right? And he's just saying, like he said, I don't know anything about politics, right? I'm not a politician, right? And I'm not a good person. But we all know, don't we, that there's one country that has the best security ever, and that's Israel. So how on earth did 140 people just bump in and kill people? That doesn't happen, right? It's a setup. That's what it is. Like, so he doesn't. It's so obvious. I was like, oh my God, that's so obvious. Why don't I think about that? Because I've been trained to lie to myself. Right? That's how you train yourself to lie to yourself. So you think in a certain way, you just keep lying and lying and lying and lying, right? So this is the mentality of kufr, is that you just keep lying to yourself and lying to yourself, and it's an okay. You go to study at school and you think it's logical. What you're doing is actually illogical. Like what you're studying is actually illogical. Like you question this, but you don't question this. Why? We don't talk about that. So it's two simple questions in science. Where does existence come from? The universe, where does it come from? And where does life come from? They never talk about that. They talk about biology and animal cells and plant cells, and you feel like you know stuff. Oh, this is really good. Two simple questions. Where does life come from? Where does the cone, the universe, where does it come from? Right? What's the third law of physics that what is it? Energy can either be created or destroyed, something like that. Is it third? I don't know what it is. Right? Energy can either be created or destroyed. Okay, then so therefore, where did it all come from? So it's very simple, but it's just you repeat to yourself a stupidity, right? People talk about things, and so you just keep living a life of sin, living a life of makruh, living a life of ghafla, right? So ghafla is not a passive thing. People don't accidentally forget Allah. They intentionally forget Allah. It's a coping mechanism because you hate Allah. In ourselves, we have a level of shaitan in us, that we don't want to accept that light. We turn away from it, right? And in Jannah, when you don't have that filth, you will just do dhikr without effort because it's just natural. Dhikr is the default. Dhikr is the default, right? The animals, they do dhikr without effort. we do dhikr through effort because we are trying to fight ourselves. It's like that person who is desperately trying to get off heroin. It's like, dude, you can do this. You can do this. Keep going, right? It's like, oh, it's so hard, right? Desperately trying not to do shameful things. Whereas a normal person, like, why would you do that? That's weird, right? Or somebody who they just cuss all the time and they're desperately trying to stop cussing, right? And so we have to fight ourselves because we're so messed up. But in reality, it's an active process. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says there's this one level of knowledge, and then you're going to have this like super knowledge. And it's now those layers of yourself are all gone. Right? And if you think about rahmah, it's the same thing. Why aren't we kind? Because we put layers on ourselves. Right? You'll see somebody who thinks they're nice, but actually they have all these layers, traumas and images of themselves, and it's like when you just take all of those things away and they just become nice. It's like, bro, just be chill. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're going to see it and you're really going to see it. Like it's going to be very clear. All of those levels that you had in life to function through life of denial and forgetting things, now it's done. And then on that day, you will certainly be questioned about worldly pleasures, right? What were we talking about yesterday? Worldly pleasures, right? And so, we mentioned this point yesterday and I'll mention it again. We come to the masjid and someone looks at me and they're like, astaghfirullah, look at his trousers. His trousers are below his ankles, okay? Or they'll come to the masjid and they'll roll up their trousers. Why do they do that?
They're following a sunnah.
They're following a sunnah, right? The Prophet ﷺ, he said, Izratul mu'min ila nisf sa', right? The way that you wear your izar is to half of the shin. Why? Because it's expensive. Cloth is extremely expensive. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, here is where you need it to be. You need to cover your awrah, you need to walk. So here is okay. And he says it's okay from here down to here. But anything below the ankle is in the hellfire. Why? Because it's unnecessary expense, right? Unnecessary expense. So now you go to the prayer and you're using unnecessary expense to go to the prayer. So what are you doing? Is boastful. It's not acceptable. Along this person comes along and makes sure they have their trousers above their ankles, but they're driving a Watt and they're wearing a Watt and in their pocket is a Watt and their balance is this and their house is this and this is like, where are you? This is not, this is not deen, right? This is not deen. So the simplicity, you look at the way of the Salaf, like the simplicity of life, right? You need kafaf. We mentioned the whole discussion yesterday. You need kafaf. You need enough money to get by. That's what you need. Do you have enough money to get by? Yes or no? Right? If I don't do this, I can't do this. If I don't do this, I can't do this. Okay, fine. Then you need enough money to get by, but you don't need more than that. So when we get into excess, this is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned all this thing. Now I'm going to ask you about the coffee that you didn't need to buy. Allah's going to ask you about the car that you could have bought you could have bought a Skoda. Does anybody know what Skoda is? No? Some people know what Skoda is. It's like the level below the Volkswagen. So you bought a Volkswagen instead. Why? And instead of a Volkswagen, you bought an Audi, right? Audi TT, thank you very much. Right, beautiful car. Okay, instead of an Audi TT, you bought a Porsche, right? Why? Right? Why do you need any of these things? Right? And now these are all these questions like you have a good car, have a house that's enough space for you, right? If you need to have a big house because you have guests coming, because you're trying to make sure that your family knows that they can come and visit, that's fine. It's not a problem. But having more than you need, this is super un-Islamic, right? Super un-Islamic, right? You see these, subhanAllah, Brother Muhammad, for example, at the beginning of the year, he was dealing with getting back funds from parents. You see the cars that turn up, they're like, oh, we can't afford it. It's like, you drive a car like that and you can't afford it, bro. Right. And so donations, like when we think about things like donations, people are very happy to do $1,000 on their car payments. Not a problem. And they've paid that much extra in the interest and all sorts of things. They're not having a problem. But when it comes to a donation, it's like, they don't have it. Right. And so it's like, so this is kufr, like the level of like, you look at things in different ways, even they're not different. Right. And so may Allah protect us. And so we should have kafaf, right? You have what is enough. And, you don't need more. You enjoy Eid, a nice day to have some nice food. You eat for the sake of other people, but you don't need to have lots of things. Things do not make you happy. Something that everybody's worked out. Buddha, what did he work out, right? He said, what is it that makes people unhappy? Attachments. Simple, right? When you attach to things, they make you unhappy. So don't be attached to things, and you'll be happy. Free them. So what did we do in fasting? We freed ourselves of attachments, right? You're freeing yourselves of attachments so that you can connect with Allah, so that you can be happy, right? These are basic things, right? And so you're going to be asked about these things. Why? Because, as I mentioned last night, we're not even gathering charity. It's not gathering charity. It's not charity. Charity is something else, right? We were talking about an issue of people need things. So, for example, I was talking to Sheikh Abdul Karim. Sheikh Abdul Karim is coming from Egypt, and you see people are in difficulty. So he's like, we weren't making a riba of anybody. We weren't saying bad things, but we were saying so and so is going on Umrah for a second time. Okay, mashallah, may Allah increase them and give them tawfiq, etc. But it's going to cost you, okay, 2 to 3K to go on Umrah plus this plus that. Okay, there's nobody in the world that needs 2 to 3K right now. Like, how much does the food cost to get to Gaza right now? How much does this? How much is that? Right? It's like, I understand you're going to Umrah, it's fantastic, but it's not an issue of that you should do the sunnah. It's an issue of there's a pressing need for people to eat. Right? In Yemen, it's like everywhere you go, in and countless countries, because they're not on TV, we don't know about them. Because they don't count. Half of them because they're black, we don't care about them. Right? So Gaza is on the news because we care about Israel. Sudan is not on the news because we don't really care about anybody. Right? The Uyghur was only on the news because we're at war with China. Otherwise, we don't care about a bunch of people in prison. Who cares about that? So my friend, my friend, he studied in Mauritania, and his little brother was with me in Jordan, and he saw this goat, I think it was, and he's in Jordan. He says, "Oh, that's a donkey." I said, "No, it's not. He's like, it was far away. I was like, that's a goat. That's not a donkey. He says, "Oh, in Mauritania, the donkeys are the size of goats, because right." He said, if you leave cardboard outside your house, do you know who eats the cardboard? People. People make soup out of cardboard, right? That's how it is. It's like people are on the edge. That's how people function, right? That's how people function. That's normal life, right? So when you say I have excess, and that's not a good way to look at things, right? So again, I have no certainty that we are not responsible for Gaza. No certainty whatsoever. There's certain things like, am I responsible for Trump being in power? No, I'm not. Am I responsible for global warming? To some extent, not really. But Gaza is I don't know. Maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come and he'll bring this to the community and say, look, you fed yourselves. Good job, guys. What about, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will punish it. I don't know. Like, we spent 30K on food, and that could have, you know what I'm saying? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, yeah, I asked you to have what you need, but then in excess of your need, there were all these people that were your cousins, that were your so-and-so, were your so-and-so, and so on. Nothing happened, right? So Allah's going to ask you about this because you had more than you needed and you didn't help other people, right? So we're not saying don't make money. You should make money. You should make as much money as you can, right? You should make as much money as you can, but that doesn't mean you should have a luxurious life. It means you should have tons of money and tons of power to do lots of good things. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask you about Na'im, and I believe it was Zubayr ibn Awam. He asked the Prophet ﷺ, he said, obviously Allah's not going to ask us because we're in a difficult situation. We're just eating water and dates right now. The Prophet ﷺ said, no, he's going to ask you about water and dates. Okay, what about California? AC, health insurance, safety, all these kind of basic things. These are basic things that people in the world don't enjoy. Biryani. Right, biryani, right? DoorDash, right? You live like it. So Fir'aun didn't have what we have. Right? Fir'aun didn't have what we have. He can't change the temperature like that immediately. He couldn't be like this, oh, it's a little bit too hot, a little bit too cold. You're like, oh, it's difficult to cook today, let's just do DoorDash. And he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that luxury. Flowing water, safe water. So many people die just drinking water. Access to water is a major thing, right? So Allah's not saying, I don't want to give it to you. Allah's saying, I'm giving it to you. I want you to take what you need, and whatever you don't need, it goes to something else, right? Particularly in the world that we live in, where, may Allah forgive us, our rulers, people with lots of money are not doing anything, and it's a problem, right? And so may Allah forgive us all. We have to always ask ourselves, whenever you buy anything. So the other day, for example, I did do, it wasn't DoorDash, but it was something else. And I was like, I'm doing this for my kids. And yeah, Allah, please, at least you can think about the question. Like you just bought your kids a gift. They don't actually need that, right? In the past, Eid was you buy your kids clothes because people didn't have clothes. That's Eid, right? Eid al-Fitr is you give people food because they don't have food. Our Eid is something on another planet, right? Our Umrah packages are another planet, right? The way that we do, like Umrah for us is a vacation. It's not a vacation, is it? Right? People, we used to die on Hajj, die on Umrah. Now it's like, oh, I'm just going on vacation, right? And so may Allah forgive us all. And so what we see, for example, in the Middle East is that deen? So where's Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, where's the Rahmah? No Rahmah, right? Where is the zuhud that we saw of the Salaf, the way of life? It's not there anymore. This is what's that? What's this? Right? Everybody wants to marry a Saudi sheikh because he's got money. Like, Salim. Somebody was looking for Salim ibn Abdullah ibn Umar, who the grandson of Sayyidina Umar, and they came to Medina because they want to have a fiqh question, right? So they're like, okay, who is the grandson of the Khalifa? Right? I want to meet the grandson of the Khalifa. So they saw this slave who was tending to some camels. And the camel had, I don't know, was bleeding. Perhaps he did some kind of surgery. And the camel had thrown up. So there was like sick of a camel in one hand and the blood of the camel in the other. And the guy just had an izar, just had a lungi, right? Just from here to here, right? So he said, oh, where's your master? I'm looking for your master, right? He assumed he was a slave. He said, who are you looking for? I said, I'm looking for Salim ibn Abdullah ibn Umar. He says, it's me. Like that's how they live life, right? They had slaves, but you couldn't tell the difference who's the slave, who's the master, right? That's the thing. So we live in a place as well. Some people come from countries where you have, maids and kind of these things, right? But what do we have in California? We have Mexicans, right? And I remember I had this Mexican guy, come to the back of our house. He just walked in, and I was like, "Oh, that's a bit rude," right? And then I realized it's not rude. It's not rude. He's not being rude to me. People are being so rude to him, they don't even acknowledge his existence because he's not American. He's a Mexican. So you can pay him whatever, and he's just the manual labor, and it's just whatever. So it was like I remember like offering him things. He was kind of like strange. He was kind of confusing because he's used to like I don't exist. I'm a non-entity, right? That's true, right?
That is very true.
Yeah. And so it's like this is this kind of way. So this kind of decadence, this is not deen, right? The Prophet ﷺ, he said, when your slave brings you food, give him some of the food, right? You give him some of the food, like you're supposed to be on the same level, right? And so this is the only dunya that we should have. The only dunya we have is something that's useful. Like, what is the function of that thing? You have a car that's useful of these things, right? And so, otherwise, like, what do you have in your life that is not useful, right? And so, we have to be very careful. Big cars, unnecessary numbers of cars, big houses. We don't need any of these things. Just keep things to a minimum and maximize the good. You don't need to leave things for your kids. Your kids will be totally fine. Maybe you could say, for example, I'm not saying it's impossible, but let's say, for example, you're actually making serious money and you're like, you know what? I'm going to put a fund for my kids' college and med school, right? That's not impossible, right? It's not impossible. But generally speaking, that's a lot of that is kind of like high hopes. Like, are they going to be alive anyway? You plan for your kids who are not even alive, right? So you should plan for their deen. For example, I'm scared that my kids, for example, they mentioned you should save money for your kafan, what you're going to be buried in, because if you doubt that, if you're not sure if it's going to be bought from a halal money. So everybody around you is messed up, and you know that they're going to use some haram money to buy your kafan. So you say, no, I'm going to save money so that when I die, I have a halal thing to bury me in, right? So things like that. So kind of by analogy, we're like, okay, I'm concerned for my kids. They're going to do riba. So like, don't do riba. Go to college without a loan. I have your money. Something like that. So you're saving money so that people save their deen. It's very different, right? It's money for the deen as opposed to money for the dunya. Otherwise, it's not particularly useful. It doesn't really help them, right? It's not even a very useful thing of doing anything, right? May Allah protect us. Okay, and then it goes on to Surat al-Asr. So it says, Surat al-Asr again, at Meccan surah, same thing. It says, wala asr. So asara ya'sir in Arabic means to squeeze, right? So asir is liquid that is squeezed out of a thing. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I swear by the little squeezed out time that you have. Right? So this is again Muhammad Anwar, and again, any of us with a road like this, we could all die any minute. Right? So anybody you're 70 plus is like, yeah, easy. My dad's 71, I think 72. You're just in that category of things being, it's not, when you're a baby, can easily die. An old person can easily die. So every single moment you have is just an extra second that's just squeezed out. You mentioned you were in the hospital, could have died, right? He could have died. It's not difficult. It's not difficult to die. It's quite easy to die, right? And so every single one of us this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Asr is called Asr. It's the last squeezed out moments of the time of the day, right? When you pray Asr, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I swear by this time that is squeezed out and you have very little of it left. Innal insana lafi khusr. Every single person is i.e. surrounded by a huge loss. A huge loss, right? Meaning, for example, Brother Ayan is telling us about stock trading, right? So I'm like, oh, mashallah, I sold this Bitcoin for $1. It's like, you sold one Bitcoin for $1? And how many did you have? Oh, I had 1 million. And it's like, you could have made this, but you made this, right? So every single one of us, right? Every single one of us is like that. It's like you made money, mashallah, but how much did you lose, right? Right? It's like, wow, I've been working for a month. They gave me $5. I can buy so much candy. I could buy like this. If I go to the dollar store, I can buy so much candy. It's like, yeah, you can buy candy, but you work for a whole month and you bought this much candy. That's it. So don't look at how much you made. Look at how much you lost. Right? So look at your life. It's like, subhanallah, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. It's like, subhanallah, so many hours and moments and days that pass by, and it's like, what a waste of time, right? So every single one of us, we should be, that's it's enough of a slap in the face, like, bro, put your head down and get to work, as opposed to playing games, wasting time on things, whatever. Like, you don't have any time. You don't have any time. So we have to have this function, like, I have no time left. I just have to prioritize the most important things. That's all. I just have to prioritize the most important things. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, save those who have believed. So Allah uses the past tense. Again, it doesn't mean that they believed in the past and they don't believe now. It means the people, تَحَقَّقَ إِيمَانُهُم. Their iman is verified, stamped. This person has lived a life of iman. وَعَمِلُ الصَّالِحَاتِ, and worked. Amal, you say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is فَعَالٌ لِمَا يُرِيد. He does whatever he wishes. But he's not amil. Allah is not an amil. Amil is like a laborer, right? So amal, there's a level of mashaqqa and a level of nasab, right? Difficulty in it. So amal means hard work. You actually have to do difficult things, right? And most of those difficult things are here. Like, you have to say sorry, even though you don't feel you want to say sorry. You have to change things, even though they don't make sense to you, right? You have to do things that are very awkward, right? Go and apologize to people. Go and, I don't know what it is. Do certain things that are very, very hard. So amal is hard work, right? There's hard work involved. You actually have to do hard work. It's not just doing things that are easy, right? Many people can do things that are easy, but they can't do things that are hard. So yes, you can pray on time when you're at home and when you're awake. I'm not asking about that. I'm asking when you're at work, when you're on the airplane, when you're at this, when you're at that. Or I can wear hijab inside the masjid. That's easy. But when you go out and it's like, oh, this is awkward, I look funny. That's when it counts, right? That's when it counts. When everybody's laughing about that haram joke and you're like, actually, this we shouldn't be talking about that. That's when it counts. Otherwise, so it has to be, there's no pain, no gain. That's how it is. Right? And Allah tells us in the verse before that we mentioned yesterday, before, that Allah's going to test us. Brother Muhammad Sadiq says, you will be tested. Right? It's not like you won't be tested. And so many of us was happy to look at our past, and there was a test that came and we failed that test. Test that came and we failed that test. Test that came and we failed that test. It's an obvious test. We know what we were supposed to have done, but we didn't do it. Right? Because it was hard and we failed, and it was hard and we failed, and it was hard and we failed, and it was hard and we failed. May Allah forgive us, right? So say the people who have iman and amil salihat, and this is the key thing, وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالْحَقِّ, and they team up. Right? So this is the cool thing I mentioned last night. the 5 points mentioned after Ramadan was number last one was suhbah. So if you team up with good people, you will be a good person. If you don't team up with good people, you will not be able to be a good person. You hang out with people who love the dunya, right? You'll know all these car names, you'll know all these player names, you'll know all these, they'll be interested in phones, all these things. You hang out with people who don't care about cars, don't care about this, don't care about that. You won't care about the dunya, right? So suhbah of the screen, suhbah of the TV, suhbah of the phone, suhbah who you hang out with, this is everything. Surround yourself with good people, you will be a good person whether you like it or not. Surround yourself with fools, you will be a fool whether you like it or not. Surround yourself with people who make riba, you will make riba. Surround yourself with people who cuss, you will cuss, right? You surround yourself with people who all they care about is their looks, right? Like there was a brother, he was like, I was doing exercise and he's like, Fareed, your physique would look good if you were ripped. And I was like, I don't go to the gym to be ripped, He does in his mind, that's a thing. Like the way I look is a thing, right? I think Mikal was born, my son, and we did an aqiqah, and I invited people for the food, and somebody said, this is good for your reputation. And I didn't understand what he was saying, like, this is good for your reputation. He's like, he was just give me like, uncle advice. And he's like, do we do that for reputation? Like, this is what you do. You feed in the masjid so that it's good for your reputation. Is that a thing you do? That's super haram, right? That's what's showing off. But in his mind, it's good because that's how he functions. So you hang out with people who it'd be bad for your reputation, it's good for your reputation, then you become insane like them. But if you hang out with people who I don't really care, in fact, I intentionally ruin my reputation. It's like, what are you doing? Right? I'm not fasting intentionally on a Monday to just break my image in front of people. Right? Totally different world. So somebody who doesn't care. When you hang out with people who do things because other people do things, you become like them. When you hang out with people who do things because of sunnah, because Allah wants us to do it, then you become like them. So you have to, it's suhbah is unbelievably important, right? Unbelievably important, right? So you have to change your environment. And we mentioned here in the context of Tawbah, right? You make Tawbah, the famous hadith of the man who killed 100 people, right? You want to know the story? So he goes, there's a number of lessons in it. Number one, he goes and asks, he said, I killed 99 people. So then he asks this rabbi or this priest, and it's like, you can't make Tawbah. Khalas, you killed 99 people, khalas. So then he kills him too, right? So the lesson was, you can always make Tawbah, right? And then he goes and asks somebody else, and they say, yes, of course you can make Tawbah, but leave these people. So then he leaves the bad place and goes to a good place, right? And then he dies on the way. And then the angels of punishment come and the angels of mercy come, and the angels of punishment say, well, he didn't go to the good place. So we're taking us with him. We're taking him with us. And the angels of mercy are saying, no, he was trying to go to the good place and he made Tawbah, so he's going to come with us. So then they had one angel to arbitrate, and they found he was one step closer to the good place. So that's how we should be. Like the app, you're still on the app. You still have a phone. You don't need a phone. Like if the phone is making you do the haram, smash it to pieces, right? So Bishr al-Hafi, just brother Muhammad Sadiq, just one thing. Maybe correct the hadith.
It was that he was closer to the bad place, and so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stretched the land.
Okay, Jazakumullah khair. That's part of Allah's rahmah.
Make him closer to the good place. So then the angels of
good. So the point is he left the environment. If you don't want to leave the environment, right? That's why the ulama say it's haram to go to a place built for sin. You can't go into a bank. You want to see, they have a new bank. You want to see what it's like. You can't go into a bank. Okay. I want to take my kid. Can your kid sit in the car? He's old enough to sit in the car. You can't take a kid inside the bank. You can't go in there. Right? I did that once. I was with my friend, and I was like, he in Jordan, he was helping me get finance for a car in a halal way, but he had two bank accounts. So he had a bank account with an Islamic bank and a bank account with a non-Islamic bank. So I went with him, and he's like, yeah, come in, we'll just talk. And I'm like, I can't come in with you because you can go in because you need to. I can't go in. Right? And he's like, why? He's like, because you can't go into a bank unless you need to. You can't go into a brothel. I just want to see what the wall looks like. You can't go. I'm just going to go look at I'm just going in with my friends. I'm not going to drink. I'm just going to a bar with my friends. You can't do that. right? You're going to sit with people who are making riba. So you say, guys, we shouldn't say that. Guys, we shouldn't say that. Guys, we shouldn't. Okay, I'm gone, right? That's how it is, right? I'm in an environment where somebody's watching something on TV. It's like, this is super inappropriate. And you're like, oh, just sitting there. It's like, you looked once, looked twice, bro, you're going to look again. It's like, so you can't be in that. So anyway, so my friend, he closed his other bank account because of that, right? So you have to understand you can't go to a place of sin because the place will pull you to sin, right? It's very simple, right? So like if the screen is destroying you, get rid of the screen. Yeah, but what would happen? You'll be totally fine. You'll be totally fine, right? You're totally fine. And so we have to have this mentality. So, a story like this with Bishr al-Hafi. Bishr al-Hafi is called Bishr, who wears no shoes, right? He was one of the great awliya, and probably from Afghanistan. Everybody's from Afghanistan, right? And so anyway, so he was having a party at his house, right? And there was music playing and alcohol and women, etc., right? And a man comes to his house and knocks on the door. And so his servant or slave goes to the door, and the man says, who lives here? Is this person a slave or is this person a master? So then the slave's like, this is a stupid question because this is a big house. Do you think a slave's going to have a big house? Do you think, can a slave throw a party? What are you talking about? So he's like, is this a master? It's like, okay. So then the man says, okay, yeah. If he were a slave, he wouldn't do this. If he were a slave, he wouldn't do this. And he walks off. So anyway, the servant is like, well, some random person comes to the house in the middle of a party, just like stupid, gets back into business. So then Bishop said, like, who was at the door? Oh, some random guy. Okay, what did he say? Something like, the person who owns this place, is he a slave or is he a master? And so what did you say? I said, oh, he's a master, because obviously you're my master. And then what did he say? He said, if he were a slave, he wouldn't do this. Hit him. He understood. This man is saying a slave would not do this kind of sin. If you were a slave of Allah, you wouldn't do these kind of sins. So it just hit him. What did he do? He had no shoes on. So what did he do? He just walked out of the house and he never wore shoes ever again. Never wore shoes ever again. So the point is not to wear shoes. The point is he just dipped. Like, I'm out now. It's not like, oh yeah, what's my plan to break up with my girlfriend? Oh, how am I going to stop this? It's like, no, right now. Like right now, what do I have to do? Like actually, I'm going to do it now. And the immediacy of how he lived life. And he's like, that's it, I'm leaving. Right? So this is وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. They team up. You can't do it by yourself. Right? You can't do it by yourself. I'm a very lazy person. I can sleep through anything. I sleep through alarm clocks, like 3 alarm clocks I can sleep through. Right? So I remember I went to Jordan. I'm trying to pray tahajjud. How do I do it? I was living with my friend. I said, please wake me up. Please wake me up. Please wake me up. He moved. I moved with him. I would actually go and sleep the night at his house and come back to my house because I can't do it. So I want to be this person who prays tahajjud. Oh, it's just not happening. Change your environment. Change your environment. If you don't want to change your environment, then it's just empty words, right? It's just empty words. You're just talking. It's not real. Be like, no, I need to change my environment. I need to, change everything, go somewhere else, do new things, start again. Oh, I have bad friends in the city. Go to another city. Oh, it's going to be difficult. You don't want to do something difficult? See you in hell, basically. But people need to change. It's very hard to wear hijab. I've been working in this company for 5 years. It's weird. It's awkward. Go to another country. Go to another place. Go and work in another country. You'll be fine. You will be okay, right? And my dad, my dad, kind of interesting individual. He's obviously, more, who was older and wiser, etc. And he saw things that I didn't see, right? So he once asked me, he had a discussion about Pulp Fiction, right? If some of whoever's familiar with Pulp Fiction. And he says, Pulp Fiction, like, what's it about? Like, I don't have no idea what Pulp Fiction is about. I mean, it's kind of cool, but that's about it. He said, it is a story of Tawbah. It's a story of Tawbah. That this one guy, he's like, I don't want to be with criminals anymore. I don't want to do this. I've made Tawbah. I'm just going to do my last thing and I'm out. And then all these miracles happen around him, right? They empty the whole round and it shoots him like this and he's quoting the Bible and then the other guy, Travolta, I don't know what his name was. I can't remember his name, any Travolta, he's like, yeah, I don't really care, and who cares? And he goes and tries to go shoot somebody in someone's house, and he's in the bathroom, the guy, he gets killed himself. So it's like, if you turn to Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make everything happen. If you turn away from Allah, nothing will happen. Right? This is the story. Like, you do what is right and take the means. A, B, C. Last time the haram happened, it was this time. I'm not going to be in the same situation. Walk away. Get out of this thing. Change. Take the means. Otherwise, you do the same thing. Right? You have a health problem. Right? Get rid of those things that are in your house. Oh, I live in a house with this alcohol and I'm trying to, it's like, smokers, that's classic, right? They just get back into smoking because they're around people who smoke. And then it's like, this is the same concept. You want to pray on time? Hang out with people who pray on time. You want to pray tahajjud? Be with these people. Want to be fasting Mondays and Thursdays? Hang out with people who fast Mondays, Thursdays. You want to be a hafiz? Hang out with people who memorize Quran. Right? There's some island off Mauritania somewhere where everybody's a hafiz. Right? When these kids who are in Mauritania, he says, you bump into anybody in any store, everyone's memorized at least half of the Quran. That's just normal. Right? It's just ambient. Libya, same kind of thing. Like, people just memorize a third of the Quran, a quarter of the Quran. It's like just the average Joe. It's just normal, right? Here in America, is it normal for people to stink? Like, you go into office and people stink. Why? Because it's ambient. People shower, people put deodorant. It's normal. So that's what, if you hang out with people, that's the norm, right? And that's actually one of the meanings of the meaning of deen in Arabic. One of the meanings of deen is ada. It means what you do on a habitual. So you want to start a practice, you hang out with people who do that same thing. Okay, so إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Patience. Patience doesn't mean not doing anything. Patience means processing things through Allah, right? So I'm sitting here and Ahmadu, for example, is stepping on my toe and I'm being patient. In my head, I hate the guy. That's not called patience. Patience is, this is coming from Allah, process in the right way. What does Allah want me to do? Allah wants to politely say, please, brother, you're stepping on my toe, it's really hurting, stop. So I'm not being impatient by telling him, nor are being patient by not saying something. So someone, for example, you're being abused. Yesterday we were talking about women who are abused. Be patient. Your husband's beating you up. Be patient. Your husband's doing this to you. Your in-laws are doing this to you. Be patient. That's wrong. Patience is, Allah sent me this thing. It's coming from Allah, and I see the big picture, and I'm going to process it in the right way. What is the right way to do? This is what's halal. This is what's haram. So many people, they're patient in a haram way. I'm being a patient with abuse. You're allowing yourself to be harmed. You can't do that. This is haram. The harm is continuing, and you're supposed to not do that. And so that's not called patience. Patience is, it's coming from Allah. Process it in the right way. Inshallah, we'll stop there. Inshallah ta'ala. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. سبحان الله وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك.